So our next speaker is a coder, and he has over a decade of hands-on experience. He's not just your average coder, he's the go-to expert for businesses seeking innovative tech solutions to their most pressing operational problems. So now he's on an exciting mission to harness the power of AI, offering businesses an unmissable chance to streamline their operations and stay ahead of the digital curve. So with his experience, he is going to be talking to us about building your first WordPress plugin with the power of AI. And this is most interesting because apparently we don't even need to know how to code. So Nathan Ong, please come, and everyone please welcome Nathan.
All right. Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Nathan. So today I'm going to talk to you about how to build your first WordPress plugins with the power of AI, even though you never code before. All right. Now, before I start, I would like to introduce myself first. Now, my name is Nathan On. I'm a self-taught freelance developer. I started my career as a WordPress developer, building plugins and themes, selling it online. And then I also have the opportunity with some of the various clients from various industry with some of the exciting web projects using some of the latest technology like React, Next.js, Convex, Firebase, etc. Right? So nowadays, I most of my time focus on mostly just doing AI automations for businesses. Okay, so this is my website. You can visit the website to find more about me. Okay, so let me share a story that might relate to many of you. Right? Say you're a freelance web developer and building WordPress site for clients, right? And then one day, the clients come to you wanting to add custom product options to their WooCommerce site, right? Like allowing a customer to add gift wrappings, personalized message, special requests, so that they can make more money from the add-ons, right? Now, in order to fulfill the client request, normally we will spend hours researching countless plugins, comparing features, reading reviews, even try some of them out, right? Then, nothing quite fit the bill. Some plugins might come close, but either it's too expensive, poorly maintained, or features that you don't need, right? So after you spend all the times, you basically back to square one, still without solutions to match your client requests. Okay? So this scenario is a weekly drama for us as a freelancer. Right? So even when we do find a plugins, right, it might not work exactly as what we want, because then you're going to start between like, do you want to customize the existing plugins, which require the coding knowledge, or you want to tell the client that, oh, sorry, it cannot be done, right? So what if I told you that there's a better way, okay? And what if you could use AI to help you build a custom plugins that do exactly what your client needs, and without having to be an expert developer. And this is where the power AI comes in, right? It bridges between the gap of your client needs as well as your technical capability. Okay, so now, however, right, most people are using AI the wrong way. It usually leads to disappointment and frustration, right? So what most people do is like this. They open up ChatGPT and then they type a simple comment like, build me a product add-ons plugin for WooCommerce. Now, if you use that prompt, on surface, right, it might look like the job is done, right? But the reality is, the code you get back will likely to be incomplete and have a lot of errors because the prompt is just way too vague, right? So many people assume that, AI is like magic wand, right? You just wave, then you can create a perfect working plugins. But the reality is, right, the generated code normally has a hidden bugs that you didn't aware. There's a hook missing, the security measure are incomplete, and then the worst is like when you test out the plugins, right, it just breaks. So what is the right way to use AI to build a WordPress plugins? Now, a better approach would be you need to start by clearly defining what you want, and then break your big problem into smaller pieces, and then you plan before you code. Okay? Now, this mirrors the traditional software development life cycle. Right? We start with requirement gathering, then we do design, planning, then we do implementation by stage, then we test it out, right? So there's a reason why the pro, right, they don't just wing it, or in a more trendy terms right now, vibe it, right? The vibe coding terms, right? So the best software in the world is built on system and not guesswork. That's why that it can scale, that's why it lasts, and also why that most companies invest a lot of resources on building up a working workflow, right? So as what Tony Robbins says, right, success leaves clue. So if you want to build like the best, you need to follow what the best do, right? So and this is why that we need a proper workflow to build plugins with AI, rather than hoping for instant solution. We need systemic and rather than hoping for instant solutions, we need a systemic approach. So this is how I'm going to use AI to build plugins. Okay, now I want to give you a disclaimer first. Now, I didn't develop this workflow myself. Credit go to this guy called McKay Weekly. So he's a YouTuber, and he created this template, which I refined to better suit for WordPress plugin development. So if you're interested to learn his original template, this is the 4 hours YouTube video right here, right, where you can learn from it. Okay. Now, of course, he didn't build WordPress plugins. He built normal web applications. Okay. So this is the AI assist plugin development workflow. So the way it works is that first we need to brainstorm the requirement first, and then we need to establish the project rules. After that, we will generate a technical specifications using user stories. Then we will create a step-by-step implementation plan for building the plugins. And lastly, then only we execute the plan one step at a time, right? So this workflow is basically mirroring the traditional software development cycle. And the only difference here is that AI is going to handle all the heavy lifting for us. Okay, so let's dive into each of the steps. So step 1 is basically brainstorming plugin requirements. Now, this is the most important step because many people have trouble, right, building WordPress plugin with AI. Is because they rely on AI to figure out what to include. So this usually the AI will give them incomplete plugins or the wrong thing entirely. So that's why that when you work with AI, you need to be very, very clear on what you want. And that is why that we need to start with brainstorming, as it will help us, not just the AI, help us know exactly what we want, right? So now that you might be thinking like, but hey, Nathan, I don't know how to write plugins requirements, right? Don't worry, because we're going to use AI to do that, right? Specifically, we're going to use Claude 3.7 Sonnet to help us brainstorming the requirements. So this is the prompt I use to develop plugins requirement. So your idea can be just one-liner. As you can see here, I just do a one-liner only, right, my idea. Or it can be also a full list of features that can be included in the plugin. For example, let's say your client sends you a list of features, then you can just put in there, right? The goal is to give Claude something to start with as a starting point, right? Then after that, okay, then during the brainstorming process, right, Claude will ask you questions to clarify what you want. Then you just have to answer the question one by one. So in this case, in the screenshot here, you can see that they ask like 8 questions, that I just answer each of it one by one, right? Then Claude will refine the requirements, then they will ask more questions, then we will answer it, right? All the questions, okay? So basically, we are going through this questioning and answering process, right? Multiple times until we are satisfied with the requirement itself. Then we look at requirement, we feel like, okay, this is exactly what I want. Then we stop. Then we move to the next stage, right? So once we are satisfied, we can move to the next stage, right? Now, before we move to the next stage, I want to give you a warning first, right? While Claude 3.7, right, can be very detailed, which is great for doing brainstorming, but be careful not to simply agree with everything they suggest. Because if you say yes to everything, right, your requirement will become too complicated or too big, and then which will cause the problem with your development later on. All right? So take the time to think through all the features, whether should you include or should you not include. Okay? And if you're just starting out, I know that you might say that, oh, but I don't know which one to choose. It's fine, because once you run it a few times, you get experience, then you know exactly what should include and what should you not include. So don't worry too much for now. All right? Okay. Step 2. Step 2 is to establish project rules. So what is project rules? Project rules is basically to tell the AI how to build your plugins. Things like what's the naming style, what's the folder structure, what's the hook to use, and this help the mistake before they happens, right? So while you can find a lot of project rules online, there's a lot of websites that have the directory of all the project rules available. I'm still prefer to use OpenAI Deep Research to create my own rules. Now, purely because Deep Research can analyze various online resources, and it can compile information to develop best practice. So then it can identify some of the common patterns in Golden Standard, especially the architecture approach used by some of the successful plugins out there. Okay, so this is the project rules I generate using the prompt. Now, don't worry, you don't have to screenshot, you don't have to do screen capture or what, because I will provide everything, all the prompts, everything at the final slide. Okay, so once you have the project rules, then we go to the next step, step 3, which is to generate the technical specification using the requirements and also the project rules we just created. So user stories, right, keep our specification tied to the real world. So for example, like consider this user story, right? As a shop owner, I want to let customer add gift wrapping so that I can earn more per sales, right? So this simple format actually tell AI exactly who need the features, what to build, and why it matters. And this will later on will create a clear checklist to prevent AI from adding unnecessary stuff. Okay, so this is the prompt I use to generate technical spec. Again, I will provide a full complete prompt later on in the final slide. Then we will use O1 Pro to generate the technical spec. Now, I'm preferring using O1 Pro is because it will give you a much more superior result. Now, I know that O1 Pro only available on the ChatGPT Pro, but you can also use the Gemini 2.5 Pro as an alternative as well. It will still works. Okay? Then this is the result. So you can see that in the result of the specifications, right, it actually include the requirements, the descriptions, the project structures, the folder structures. Then it will have all the user stories. Like for example, in this case, we have 3.2 pricing options. Like as a store owner, I want to add multiple changes, that sort of thing. So you basically focus on the feature space. So that's why that the specs need to tie with the user stories. Okay, then after you have the specs, then we go to step 4, which is to create an implementation plan. So to create the implementation plan is basically just break down the process into a smaller step so that the AI can understand it, and it will serve as a roadmap to guide you through the development process. Okay, so here's the prompt I use to generate the implementation plan. Again, I'll provide you the full prompt later on at the final slide. Then again, here we are using O1 Pro to generate a plan. Now, you can use Gemini 2.5 Pro as well if you do not want to subscribe to the ChatGPT Pro. All right, so this is the result. So you can see the result of the plan is that it breaks down the development process into step by step. Like step 1, you develop the folder structure. Step 2, maybe you work on the main plugin file. Then step 3, then step 4, then step 5. All right, so there's a lot of steps in there. Okay, so here's another example. So there's more steps. Like for each step is basically just do 1 or 2 things. Okay. Then once we have everything ready, right? We have the requirements, we have the rules, we have the specs, we have the plan. Then it's time to build the plugins using Cursor AI. All right. So Cursor AI is one of the AI IDE, the agentic coding AI IDE, which is really, really famous right now. So if you link anything with AI, right? If you search up Google anything with AI, right? Most likely Cursor AI will become the topic, right? That everyone's talking about. So we're going to use that. Okay. Now, of course, before that, because we are doing WordPress plugin development, so we should set up an environment first, development environment in your computer. So in this example, I'm using WP, the local WP, because since this is what a lot of us are familiar with, right? Then we'll navigate to the folder, the plugins folder under the WP content plugins folder. I'm sure all of us are familiar with this because all of us are WordPress users, right? Then you create new folders for your plugins. You can name it whatever you want in here. In this case, I just name it as Woo Products Add-on. Then you open that folder with VS Code. All right? Then once you open it with the folder with VS Code, you'll create a node folder. Then in that node folder, you'll put in the requirements, the plan, and the specs. Right? Then because we're using Cursor, so we can set up the Cursor rules folder for the project rules as well. All right? So basically move all the rules into the folder. Okay? So once the setup is done, then we will go through the process. Can you play the video? Okay, so this is the funny part because my one cannot play the video. I can only see from here. Yeah, this one. Okay, So basically how it works is that you will, can you start again? Yeah, I'll control it here. That's, but yeah, unfortunately. Okay, so basically how it works is that you open a new chat windows and then you need to select the agent mode. So I'm going to use Sonnet 3.7 Sonnet with thinking mode in here. All right. Then afterwards you copy this prompt and then you put it in the chat. Okay. Then you will tag all the files that we just edited, the requirements, the specs, and also the implementation plan. Okay, then afterwards, after we tag the file, when we copy the next the next line, right? Then after that, you'll go to your plan, and then because we are starting from step 1, so we're then going to copy the step 1 content, and then put it there. Okay? Then after that, you go back to the prompt again, then you just copy the rest of it. Right? All of this prompt I'll provide you at the end of the slide. Okay, then you click submit. Then the AI will basically implement step 1. So it will create the codes. Then once done, you just click accept. Then you go back to the plan, then you mark it as complete. Use X to mark it as complete. Right? Then in my case, I'll normally use I'll do a git commit just for version control 6. So that if I make any mistake, I can go back to the previous versions. Right? Then once you're done with step 1, you go up to the chat. Right? You copy the whole prompt. And then you open up new chat again. Okay, you open up new chat again. And then you paste it. All right. Then you will exchange the step 1 content. So just now you copied all the prompt for step 1, right? So you're going to exchange the step 1 content with step 2. All right. So you're going to copy the step from step 2 and then just put it in the same prompt. Right. So right now, this will tell Cursor AI that I'm going to implement step 2. Right? So then we'll click submit and then it will implement. Okay? So in this case here, then we just wait for it to complete. So then once the step 2 complete, then we'll do the same process again. We'll go back and then mark step 2 as complete, as done. Right? Then we'll do a git commit. Okay? Then afterwards, we basically repeat the same process again. Right? So we go up there, copy all the prompt, start a new chat. Then this time is step 3. Okay? So basically, we are doing this step by step, one at a time. Right? You do not want to ask AI to do all the steps at one time. Because if you do that, right, the chances of them getting hallucinated is very, very high. So you want to ask them to do step by step. So basically what we are doing here is that we are repeating step by step until all the step is done. So step 1, after done, step 2, step 3, step 4, until all the step in the implementation plan is done. Okay? So let's look at the result of how it looks like. Yes. All right, so the result of this is that I have a plugin I already installed. Okay, so I'm going to activate the plugins. Now, the result is that they are actually giving me a global add-ons setting page. All right, now in here I can add the global versions, but it's also available in the product version, the single product edit page versions, right? So if you can see here, you can add add-ons for the single product as well. Okay, so then I add an add-on, then I click save. Then if I view on the product itself, you can see that here I can add the add-on. So I can plug in some text. Then if I go to checkout, you can see that the cost is edited. Original is 18. The add-on is 10. So therefore it's 28. Then checkout also have 28, right? There's an add-on. They mention what is an add-on. And then in the order, you also mention what is the cost, what is the add-on, right? Then on the customer side, they can also view what is the add-on in here. Right, and of course, at the backend side, the admin order side, we can also see what is the add-on. All right, so that's the result of the workflow that we just done. Okay, so Okay, so with that, you have the workflow to create your own custom plugin without having learning to code. All right? Now, I want to talk to you about the challenges with this workflow. Now, of course, this is not perfect. Now, challenge number one, right? This workflow requires different AI tools to achieve the best result. So as there's no single AI model that can handle everything perfectly from start to finish. Right? So in our example here, we use Claude for brainstorming, we use OpenAI Deep Research for project rules, we use Gemini 2.5 Pro or 1 Pro for generating specs and plan, and then lastly, we use Cursor AI for code implementation and debugging, right? So we are basically using each tool for what it's best at. So this multi-tool approach will give us a significant results than trying to rely on one single model. However, this will lead to another challenges, which is this AI true unfree, right? This AI true unfree. In every AI true out there, right? Whether it's the fancy ID like Cursor, Windsurf, or chat assistant like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, right? None of them are completely free, right? Sure, there are free versions, but here's the catch: either you get the basic model, or they can't handle the complex tasks, or they just limited access to the good stuff. And trust me, when you want to build a WordPress plugins from scratch, especially from scratch, you need the good stuff, right? So these two typically cost between like 20 to 200 US dollar per month. Like ChatGPT Pro, right? That alone is like 200 US dollar per month. Now I can hear you say that, wow, Nathan, are you serious? That's 200 US dollar per month, right? That's a lot of money. Now I'm going to share something interesting with you. Now many years ago, not too long ago, a friend came to me needing a custom plugins to connect a popular Malaysian payment gateway with a premium plugins, right? Back then, I told him that I will need 20 hours to develop these custom plugins, right? Since at that time, my rate is about 100 ringgit per hour, so the cost will be 2,000, right? Now, with this AI workflow that I just showed you, I could basically wrap this up like in an hour or two, right? So what does this mean, right? It means, here's what I want you to understand, right? It's not really about how much the tool costs. It's more about how much it can help you earn, right? Think about it. If you spend 1,000 and it can earn you 2,000 while saving you tons of time, that's a pretty good deal, right? So this is what I want you really take away from this, okay? First is, of course, the AI is not a magic wand yet. Therefore, we cannot just wave it, expect it to get a perfect result. So just like human need step-by-step instructions, AI also need to have a systemic approach to do whatever they're supposed to do. Okay, so this workflow is still work in progress, and that's okay. Because as AI develop, our current workflow isn't perfect, right? But as it develop, right, we'll continue to improve and have a better understanding of needs. Then this workflow will become more and more efficient. In fact, right, just today only, OpenAI just launched something called Codex, which I just tested out this morning. And the result is a lot more better. Okay, yeah, so that's what I mean, right? As AI develop, things will become even more better. Okay, so then the third is focus on the value, not the cost. So as I mentioned before, right, while some of the AI tools can be expensive, but we shouldn't focus solely on the price tag. Instead, we should consider the value that the tool can deliver, right? Take my earlier example, right? If you invest 1K and you can earn 2K, right? That is a fantastic returns because your cost is more than covered by what you're able to deliver, right? Then the final takeaway is that you still need to think like a developer. So which means that I hope that you can use this AI tool as a stepping stone for you to learn about WordPress plugin development. Because in the past, if you want to learn how to build plugins, you need to learn about PHP, you need to learn concepts like arrays, variables, functions, what is algorithms, how to do object-oriented before you can build plugins. Now with AI, you can start building plugin first. Then you learn this concept later. All right? So this would actually eventually help you in better understanding the code generated by AI. Because programming skills are still very important in the age of vibe coding, right? Because it's not just about writing codes. It's all about system thinking and architecture, right? Vibe coding will only work when you truly understand what you're doing, all right? And that's the real truth, unfortunately. Okay? So that's why I encourage you to develop your programming skill along the way, right? think about it, right? Every line code that you write, whether it's through AI or not, it's a building block for your journey to become a developer. So the tool might change, but the fundamental of problem solving and creative thinking remain always the same. Okay? So that's all for my talk. So there's a QR code in there whereby you can scan, then it will link you to my website that have a complete guide of what I just presented. So basically this is a written guide of what I just presented today, right? So it had contained all the prompts, all the video that I showed you just now is in there as well, and then all the screenshot as well. Okay? So if you want to connect with me, this is my details, my website, my Facebook, and my LinkedIn. So any questions? No questions? Going once, going twice.
A round of applause for Nathan. Honestly, you say it's easy to do with AI, but looks very complicated, and you obviously have a lot of experience with that. So, you're very knowledgeable, so you've just given such an in-depth presentation, so it's a little bit like, what can I ask? And you've literally just given us that whole demonstration on your website as well. So thank you.